This is another episode of The Real Podcast of Dallas. The Real Podcast of Dallas, the only podcast dedicated to positivity and drug-free. The only podcast where you can be yourself. You can let your hair down or up. You can relax. And you can listen to the people that you look forward to listening to since you listened to the first podcast. And we have with us again,
that's all I ask of you,
Cindy.
Cindy.
I'm here.
Yeah. And Maria.
Hey Maria, I'm here.
I gotta work on
I'm
that.
here too.
I gotta work on that. Did y'all happen to hear the other podcast, by the way? I know you've been busy.
No.
No?
No.
You need
But
to.
you said it was good.
Yeah, you need to. The music is good.
Yeah.
You, Maria?
No, me neither.
Okay, y'all need to. I mean, we gotta represent. No,
That's
so
true.
it's again another episode of The Real Podcast of Dallas. And Maria, how can they hear this podcast? If I'm lonely, if I'm sad, and I want company, how can I find this podcast?
So all you have to do is Google The Real Podcast of Dallas, and it will give you the links to all the platforms where you can access us. So I think the very first one that pulls up is Facebook. So if you access our Facebook account, The Real Podcast of Dallas, it will give you all the links to all our episodes. But you can also listen to us through Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and even YouTube.
Yes. And how much does it cost? I mean, is it going to cost me anything to listen to this podcast?
No, it's free.
It's
That's
free.
the best part of it.
Cindy, it's free. You can't buy this podcast. It's free. How do we
Free
do that?
advice.
Yes, free advice.
Free counsel.
It will save you thousands of dollars in the future. Yes.
Right.
So how are you guys doing? How was y'all's week?
I loved it because we had 2 inclement weather days, and I loved it. I loved
Yes.
being home. I loved eating junk and watching Netflix.
Good.
That's funny. Yes.
Good. And you, Maria, how was yours?
It was interesting. I mean, it was 2 days away from our jobs, which was,
Yes.
I guess a good thing.
Uh-huh. A little
It just
break. A
gave
little
us time
break.
to relax a little bit. Yes,
Yes.
It was a good little break.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, we did a lot of Netflix watching also,
Good.
and eating.
I bet
here
you
at
don't
home.
get Netflix, do you, William?
I don't. Here at Area 51 and a half, there is I don't have Netflix. I don't have very
Yeah.
much at all. So it's very, very sad.
Solitary.
It's very sad. But yeah, I don't get much. I don't really have time. I don't have time for much. It's just, I do what I need to do, and
Sleep and work.
sleep, work, eat. That's it. So and like I said, one day I'll share it with everybody, and we'll have to do like a 2-hour to go over with what's happening and what I'm doing. But yeah, no, not much Netflix. We did get some snow out here. Not much, but we had some snow. So
How do you not accidentally divulge where you're at?
just very careful, I guess, as a counselor, you can confidentiality that's ingrained in your head. So
Yeah.
I know that, one of the things that I'm not gonna do is divulge where I'm at or what I'm doing until after.
I would totally slip. Yeah.
No, it'll be after, and then it'll be very interesting. It'll be an interesting show. Yeah, I'll be able to say what I did and what's been going on, because I've been away from home for a long time. I haven't seen the family in 4 months.
Oh my God.
And I have
That's a long time.
been here for 6 months already.
Do they remember what you look like?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's one of those where you're gone, and you're gone, and but you're still alive. It's a weird.
I mean, it's just
really
wild to
weird.
think of how weird it's going to be for your wife when you come home. Like, she'll have to get
Well, the
used to
last
that
time,
again.
the last time I went home, it was very weird. I kind of get institutionalized. I know what that's like now. Being institutionalized. So, the little I can say is I'm kind of like on a military-ish schedule and treatment.
Yeah.
So I thank the people at Griner for their talks that they had, because it really helped me out. I didn't realize it was going to help me out, but it really did. And of course, I'm not comparing myself to the people who actually serve our country at their capacity, but it's I can definitely empathize.
Yes.
But with that,
there was a reason. Yeah, there was a reason you met the LCC.
Yeah, and I will tell you that one of the things, when I talked about the alone episode, one of the things that I realized is, you have to learn to like yourself, to be with yourself, and not get into that depression or self-harm, negative talks and things like that. So I wanted to talk about that today. How to like yourself more. How do we do that? Because I think there's a lot of kids, especially nowadays, who may be struggling with that. I know there's definitely adults that struggle with that.
Well, I think everybody struggles at some point with that.
Right.
Yeah. It's a lifelong, it's an ongoing
Right.
thing that you have to always affirm yourself, and every time you have a negative thought, just
Right.
erase it, replace it with
Right.
something positive.
Yeah, because we go through a lot of changes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's something that I guess you have to revisit.
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes I'm feeling like Wonder Woman, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling very insecure about myself. And so, it's a process.
Yes. So we I guess when I was a teenager, you go through times where you feel good, everybody, and then there's other times where you feel awkward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Adolescence is tough. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It is. So let's talk about what it was like for us growing up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you go first.
I go
you go
first. Maria, how about you?
No, you go first.
I'll go first. I'll be I'll be very truthful. I had a hard time. Well, I think the hardest thing for me was that we moved from South Texas to Dallas when I was 9. And I was just getting to a point where I was kind of finding myself. I started playing Little League, and they started giving me a lot of confidence. So then the first year I played I was horrible, because I never played any. I didn't have a father. I never had a father or a father figure. So I didn't do those things. I didn't have that support. And I'm not saying that people say, "Oh, poor Leo." It just kind of it'll make sense. So I went to try out for this baseball Little League because everybody went. And of course, everyone had their fathers to support them except me. So I go out there and was a mess. And I think I got picked by accident. So I played that one year, and I had no clue how to play sports. The second year I was a lot better. And that's when we moved. So I was just becoming confident. Now,
and then you moved.
Yeah. Now, I guess I can disclose this. Growing up, I was abused physically by a stepfather. So I was belittled. I felt abandoned, and I felt not wanted. So that tells you why, I didn't have the confidence. So I guess, now that you know a little more, it explains, because if you tell someone, like sometimes kids don't have the confidence to play a sport and you're like, well, just get out there and try. Well, there's a lot more that may be going on that we don't know about. So
Oh, sure.
I was very afraid. And really it was afraid to be exposed, to find out that, hey, there's something going on behind closed doors. So when I came to Dallas, because it was an escape, I lost that identity and I had to restart. And it was pretty vicious. The kids were very mean. That's when I realized we were poor. That's when I realized that I was a label. I didn't have a label before. My label was just that, oh, he doesn't have a father. Oh, he's the one that doesn't have a father. His father died. That was my label.
Right.
Here, it was more of, he's poor, not smart. So I had a really hard time growing up. And then my mother having her issues, I really had a hard time. I didn't fit. I didn't fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
You become isolated, very quiet. I could sit in a classroom and the teacher would count me absent.
Oh.
Because I wouldn't talk. And they'd be like, you've been here all week. I was like, yeah, well, you didn't say anything. I disappear.
Oh, no.
Well, no. I mean, it's true. It's true. I would disappear. I knew how to disappear. And so it just you kind of get lost. And that's why I said, in the past podcasts, I've said, I didn't know what school was because I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have anybody telling me, oh, let me see your report card. Good job. Bad job. I had one lady, and I talked about her before, the lunch lady. And I don't know what it was, but she kind of gravitated to me and she said, hey, if you help me with this, I'll give you, extra this at lunch. And then she would tell me, let me see your report card. I had never, my mother just never saw a report card. So I'd show it to her. She's like, oh, you got to do better than this. So it was that encouragement. And I remember I would go show her my report card. So that person there, it really helped me out because that connected me a little bit to school. It gave me a little bit of hope. Prior to that, I had just given up. I would just hide. I couldn't keep up with it. It was very, very difficult. So yeah, I had it.
So did you think about the future when you were, going through all of that?
No, I think because.
And what did you think it was going to be?
No, I didn't think of a future at all. It was day by day survival.
Yes.
It was survival because I wanted to go back to South Texas. I hated where I was at. I hated, we were living with an uncle that I loved to death, but he had a drug problem. He had an alcohol problem. And that's where I lived. I lived with him. with a family, your brothers and sisters and mother, and it was horrible. It was horrible. As much as I loved him, and I say that because there's a lot of kids who are in the same situation. You love these people, but they're not very good for you.
Right.
They're not very good. They're not good examples. And he wasn't a father figure for me. I mean, I can say he was in a sense, but not really. So I was lost, and then I guess you go into 7th grade. That's when